And
very friendly.
He wasn't taking off his clothes or farting, but one day I went in and he was wearing a Shakira hoodie. And so I was giving him shit about the Shakira hoodie, like you do. And then we were secretly confessing we both like Shakira. It was a nice moment. Like, we can't tell this to anyone else who's male.
And then he's
straight. And then he's like, I think my weirdest booth. There was I was recording. I was at Bang Zoom. I was working on something, and we got done early. And I was just standing in the hall. It's a thin hallway. They've got booth. And I was talking to the engineer. He's like, "Yo, Patrick, like, Mark Hamill's recording in there." And I'm like, "Oh, wink, wink," yeah. And I'm like, "Wow, that's really cool." And so I go and he's recording, and I touch the door, because that's about as close as we're gonna get. And so I'm talking with Marco, and I see his eyes go. I'm like, "Oh," and I hear a door open behind me. I hear someone walking behind me in the hall. I'm like, "That's Luke Skywalker walking behind me, dude. I'm not gonna turn around. I'm not gonna make a jackass of myself."
It's not just Luke Skywalker. Well, that's the Joker.
I know. So he walks by, and I'm just like, keep together. He walks by, and I'm like, "I'm really tall." I didn't say that because that would have been a whooping.
Yeah.
And then he just kept walking. I sort of look at Marco, like, keep together. And he walks out. I was like, yeah, pretty much. It was my own fandom nerd moment. So.
I directed him in Shadow Chronicles.
Did you?
Actually, he's in Shadow Chronicles with us and Robotech.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was very cool. He's a really nice guy.
Lucy is leaving. I have to leave today. Not quite yet, but just soon. But I don't really have a funny or a weird, I have some funny, but not definitely weird ADR anime stories.
Weird, icy fart stories.
Yes, no farting stories necessarily. None that anybody else would know about.
Yeah.
But
you had to stew it.
yes, but in the world of, and I'm sure these fine people will say the same thing, in the world of acting, we're in a number of booths for any number of reasons. And I was doing a PSA, a public service announcement for the Boy Scouts of America. And I am with this dude. They have hired this very sweet and very green dude that I'm doing the commercial with, and they want us to go in and record at the same time. And the whole setup is, it's a stormy night, there's storm, I've had an accident, this kid runs up to the car and he's like, "Ma'am, are you okay?" "I don't know, my arm hurts." And, "Oh, ma'am, just be calm." And he talks me down, and I said, "Wow, are you a doctor?" "No, ma'am, I'm a Boy Scout." This is the spot. And so we get the specs, and I'm like, all right. So we start recording, and it is painfully obvious that this young man does not have the slightest clue what he is doing. It's just very, very new. And they keep telling him, "Can you be more this? Can you be more that?" And he goes, "Well, I think it'd be better if I could actually do it." And they were like, "Okay, try that." So as we're recording the commercial, and here are two stationary mics here. I'm here, he's here. He starts grabbing my arm and tying fake tourniquet out of Kleenex. But he's doing it, but the problem is he's doing this, "Ma'am, are you all right?" And I'm like, "You're off mic, dude." And he goes, "Oh, but how can I act and talk into the mic at the same time?" It was the longest session of my life. Can I just tell you? And when I left, I had all this Kleenex tied to my arm. And I was going, this is a lot for a $200 PSA. This was interesting. Right? So he was like, "Ellyn, I need to really be doing your hair for us to do this show."
Well, I don't know about you, but we always
I can't
do
talk into the
everything.
microphone and doing your hair at the
I've done
same
the
time.
threatening at him many a time.
Yeah.
My character's naked, so am I. Wow. I'm still
like Elizabeth Berkley.
With just a little bit better acting range.
Okay, here's something that I think attendees would get a kick out of. Aside from that, what was each of your first conventions, and what were your thoughts going in, and then when the show was over?
I'll take that one. The very first convention I ever did was RoboCon, which was, I believe, it was like 10 years after we did Robotech. And I was just shocked that people still, A, remembered the show, and B, were so passionate about it. It kind of blew my mind. And it's funny. I hate to admit this, but I almost forgot that I did the show And it's like they had to send me copies of the show so I could even remember it. Because, you know, you got to remember, we do hundreds and hundreds of shows, and we go in a lot of times. We don't know the show, we just do our part and we leave. We don't necessarily know the whole inner workings of the characters, how they interact, or the plots, all that stuff. And so when they said, you're coming to this thing, I said, well, did I even do that show? And they said, yeah, and they sent me the show. So I remember that there was this one thing where the mouth kind of went like this, and I had to laugh, and so I had to come up with this crazy laugh to make it fit the mouth, and something like, because his mouth went, so I did this laugh, and they went nuts. They gave me a standing ovation for this thing, because apparently this was like a big deal to a lot of the Robotech fans, and I was just kind of bowled over that they were just so into that show still, so that was kind of shocking to me that people really loved it still.
You know, I've got to say the same thing. We started doing anime 27 years ago. We did it before it had a name. As a matter of fact, when we started doing it, we thought it was like the other animation that wasn't Warner Brothers or wasn't Looney Tunes or
Harvey Tunes?
Harvey Tunes, yeah. Anyhow, and we didn't think that much of it. And when the whole thing about anime started coming up and all the fans, I remember, what are they so excited about? And I didn't get it because for us, this is a terrible thing to admit, but it was a way for us to feed our family and make a living. It wasn't anime as it's known today. I mean, it's like last night we had a panel on Ghost in the Shell. And Ghost in the Shell, to me, is like the Shakespeare of anime. It's just the philosophy and the psychology behind the characters is just phenomenal. But, you know, it's not all like that. I'm still to this day so fascinated, and I kind of feel like Sally Fields. You like it? You really like it? You like me? You really like me? Because it's still, it's so fascinating to think that we started out doing this and it's got such a life. We had no idea.
Yes, I will say that my first convention was MetroCon in Tampa, 5 years ago or something? And I didn't know, I had heard things about conventions and things, but really going to conventions is, I think, the only way I learned what anime as a pop culture phenomena is really about, which is, you know, when I was young in junior high and high school, I was a big reader. And I identified with magical, courageous, smart, intelligent, pretty, great people in books. And kind of escaped my adolescence and all those things in books, mostly. I think that people do that with anime today. You know, and you get to all come together and enjoy and revel in liking the same thing and role-playing as these magical, courageous, awesome people who are not in puberty, you know, in the throes of puberty or having breakouts and all that kind of stuff, you know. And I came to conventions to learn that what conventions are really about are fans. And there are some people who want to meet me, but more often than not, they want to get with each other and be in a place where they're not being hazed by athletes, or, although now there are athletes here, you know, everybody comes and everybody belongs at a convention. And that's what going to a convention taught me.
I had, my first convention, I kind of referred to it, was Acon 10 back in '99. And the funny thing about that was that's ended up where I met my wife and made some really good friends that have stuck to this day. So it kind of set the bar there. What was funny was I'd just done my...
Don't leave.
I'd done my...
Just lost half our audience.
Well, you know, I'd done my first lead, which was Sorcerer Hunters, which I like to think of as like the F troop of anime, but no. See, I thought that was funny. In my head, I was like, it's the F troop of anime. Yeah. No Larry Storch joke? No. Okay, but